Have you ever felt like life's smallest hurdles were insurmountable mountains, threatening to crush you with their weight? That feeling of being overwhelmed, where every minor inconvenience magnifies into a colossal problem, is a burden many of us carry. But what if the problem wasn't the obstacle itself, but the lens through which we viewed it? Meet Danny, a young boy whose world was perpetually tinged with anxiety. For Danny, a forgotten homework assignment wasn't just a minor oversight. It was a catastrophic failure. A spilled glass of milk wasn't an accident. It was a sign that the universe was conspiring against him. He saw difficulties not as temporary challenges, but as permanent fixtures. Each one a heavy stone added to his already burdened shoulders. His constant complaints, his furrowed brow, and his frequent sighs created an invisible barrier around him, pushing friends and even family members to keep a safe distance. Life, for Danny, was a relentless tide of problems, and he felt like he was constantly drowning. Danny's father, a man of quiet wisdom and profound observation, watched his son's struggles with a heavy heart. He knew that Danny was trapped not by external circumstances, but by the confines of his own perception. One sunny afternoon, seeing Danny despair over a trivial matter, his father decided it was time for a different kind of a lesson, one that wouldn't be found in textbooks, but in the very essence of life itself. He led Danny to a small, stagnant pond near their home. Handing his son a spoonful of salt, he instructed, "Danny, put this salt into the pond, stir it, and then take a sip of the water." Danny, confused but compliant, did as he was told. The water, predictably, tasted intensely bitter, almost unbearable. Danny grimaced, spitting it out immediately. "It's horrible, Dad. It's undrinkable," he exclaimed, his face contorted in disgust. His father simply nodded, a knowing glint in his eyes. Without a word, he then took Danny's hand and led him on a short journey to the wide, flowing river that meandered through the valley. Once at the riverbank, his father offered Danny another spoonful of salt, identical to the first. "Now, put this salt into the river," he said calmly. Again, Danny complied, watching the tiny crystals disappear into the vast expanse of the flowing water. "Now, take a sip from the river," his father encouraged. Danny cupped his hands, drank, and then looked up, bewildered. "I can't taste the salt at all, Dad. It just tastes like fresh water." His father smiled gently. "You see, Danny," he began, "life's problems are much like this salt. They are always there. A certain amount of bitterness, that is an inevitable part of our journey. But the impact they have on you, whether they make your life unbearably bitter or barely noticeable, depends not on the amount of salt, but on the size of the water you put it into, the size of your heart, your perspective, and your capacity to confront them." The words resonated deep within Danny. It was as if a heavy fog had lifted from his mind. He suddenly understood. The problem wasn't life itself, nor the challenges it presented. The real problem was his own constricted perception. His small pond of a heart that magnified every difficulty into an overwhelming catastrophe. In that moment, by the calming flow of the river, Danny made a silent, profound decision. He would no longer allow his fears to define his reality. He would choose to expand his heart to become the river. The change wasn't instant, but it was unwavering. Danny began to face his daily challenges not with dread, but with a newfound sense of purpose. Homework, once a source of endless complaints, became an opportunity to learn and grow. Chores, previously met with sighs and procrastination, were now tackled as tasks that contributed to his family and his own sense of responsibility. He saw each small difficulty not as a roadblock, but as a stepping stone, a chance to strengthen his resolve and expand his capabilities. He was actively choosing to enlarge his river. And with this shift, Danny's world transformed. He became calmer, his frown replaced by a quiet confidence. People who had once kept their distance now gravitated towards his newfound serenity. He felt lighter, unburdened by the weight of self-imposed misery. Problems didn't magically disappear. The salt was still there, but Danny had grown. He understood that the true secret to overcoming life's difficulties wasn't about eliminating the salt, for that is impossible, but about becoming the river, about expanding his soul, his understanding, and his coping ability. So remember this profound lesson. Life will always present its challenges, its moments of bitterness. The solution is not to complain, to shrink from them, or to run away. The solution is to develop yourself, to expand your heart, to deepen your perspective, and to face them with calm resilience. Problems don't shrink. We grow. And in that growth, we find not just endurance, but true peace and strength. Asterisk, asterisk, if this story touched your heart, help spread the message. Like the video, share it immediately, and hit that subscribe button with a bell, so you don't miss the next inspiring lessons. See you again soon.